always thought betrayal came from strangers, not from the people who tucked you into bed as a child. I was 26 when it happened. After years of clawing my way up from unpaid internships and temp gigs, I finally landed a coveted corporate test strategist position at a major renewable energy firm in Chicago, the kind of job you fight for, the kind you don't eventual people about until the offer letter is signed, just in case fate decides to snitch it back. But I made it. I worked late, I spoke up in meetings, and within a year I was promoted to executive liaison to the coup. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video. And that's when my parents started noticing me again. Look at our daughter, my mom would say on Facebook, making us proud in her fancy little job, like they had done anything to do with it. Like they hadn't spent most of my childhood reminding me wasn't as pretty, as charming, or as promising as my younger sister Laya. Laya, the golden child, she flunked out of 2 colleges, changed careers 6 times, and borrowed my car and returned it with a shattered windshield and a receipt for hair extensions in a glove box. My parents still worshipped her. You should be more like your sister, Dad, you said. Say she's a free spirit. No, she was just irresponsible. But when I finally had something they couldn't ignore, a success, they didn't celebrate it, they plotted to steal it. It started with strange whispers at work. My boss Victor suddenly stops seeing me on strategicals. I got pulled off to major projects without explanation. Then came a HR wellness check-in, just a routine meeting, they said, except it wasn't. We've received some concerns, HR murmured. There was a call from someone claiming to be a family member. They said you've been struggling mentally, that you've had breakdowns in the past. Is that true? I froze. Number. That's not true. Who said that? They wouldn't say confidential, they claimed, but I knew. I called me parents at night, furious. What the? Did you tell? My boss silenced them. Mom, feigning innocence. We just told them you've been under a lot of pressure. We were worried. You told them I wasn't stable. You jeopardized everything I've built. My dad chimed in. It's not like you'll lose your job. We were just trying to help you push yourself too hard. You are not like Laya. You don't bounce back the same. And then it clicked. Where's Laya working now? I asked slowly. She's between jobs, Mom said too fast, but she's interested in corporate strategies. Thinks she could really thrive in your field. My blood turned to ice. You're trying to get her my job. Don't be selfish, Dad snapped. She needs a chance to hang up. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone. That night I didn't sleep. The next morning I found out Laya had applied for a position in my apartment. She'd even listed my father as a reference. And somehow Victor, my boss, had already met with her for coffee, was being erased. I realized that if I didn't fight back I'd lose everything I built. While I stood over the ashes pretending it was for my own good, so I started documenting. I quietly gathered every email, every HR memo, every shift in me responsibilities. Since the end of the mouse call I requested copies of internal memos under employee rights policy and eared an employment lawyer on the side paid for with my emergency fund. But I didn't stop there. I started digging in top companies' social ties. Turns out Victor's daughter went to the same wellness retreat my mother boasted about last year. Connections influence. A puzzle was forming, and at the center of it all, my family. They weren't just trying to ruin me, they were trying to replace me. And I was about to make them regret it. 3 weeks after that HR meeting, my professional life was hanging by a thread. I had gone from leading client calls and pitching $1,000,000 strategies to being ghosted in my own apartment. I wasn't fired yet, but I was clearly being phased out, all while Laya floated around the office like she owned the place. Introduced to people as Alyssa's talented younger sister, soaking in stolen attention like sunlight. She had the nerve to wink at me in the break room. They said you needed time off. Smirk, sipping her latte. Don't worry, I'm here to help. It took every ounce of control not to throw the coffee across the room. Instead I smiled because Laya had no idea what I had planned. You see, while she played office dress up, I was building my case. Every action they took to isolate me documented. Every meeting I was excluded from logged. I filed a formal complaint with ravishing proof that I was never offered mental health leave, never evaluated professionally, and never given a chance to defend myself. My lawyer drafted a letter that made it clear if I was terminated without cause there would be wrongful dismissal lawsuit, and it would go public. But I wasn't done. You see, the one thing my parents had always interested was that I didn't just know strategy, I lived it. Behind the scenes I had already connected with Victor's competitor, a rising CEO at her rival firm, who had been courting me on LinkedIn for months. I scheduled a discreet coffee. When he heard what happened, he looked shocked. They used your own family to sabotage you, has said, eyes narrowing. You built one of most profitable forecasting models we've seen in this industry. If your company can't see that, we will. He made an offer within a week, not just for opposition, for partnership. But I still wasn't done. I waited until the quarterly board meeting, the one where Victor always presented company strategy. Boss said on my models. This time I showed up in invited and dropped a folder unfeedable inside the email chain, proving how he was pushed out. A copy of her complaint and a resignation letter effective immediately on the condition that they pay me out 6 months of severance or face public legal action. They didn't even argue. Victor's face turned white. I walked out without looking back. And as for my family, oh, they were so proud of Laya's new job, he posted about it nonstop. Until 2 weeks later, she was let go quietly with no explanation what they didn't. Know that same week the firm I joined announced a hostile acquisition of my former company's North American division. Guess who was on the transition letter of Team Me? Guess who wouldn't be coming back? Victor. And guess who would soon receive an internal ethics investigation notice for hiring a sibling of an employee during an Activer complaint? Laya. But the final move of that came on a Sunday afternoon when I rang my parents' doorbell. Dressed in a crisp navy suit holding a single envelope, they looked surprised, nervous. What is this? My dad asked. It's a cease and desist. I said calmly, any more communication with my employer or business partners, past, present, or future, and you'll be hearing from my lawyer. My mom gasped. You're threatening your own mother? No. I replied, I'm protecting myself, something you never did. Laya stormed to the door. This is your fault. They were helping me. No. I said, turning to her, they used me to help you and now no. Once helping anyone, I walked away without another word. My name was no longer just a line on their holiday brag letters, it was now on a building downtown, and soon it would be on a court document. 2. Because revenge when served cold should come with as a nature. 3 months later, I was on the 27th floor of a glass building downtown. My name at Carrington Strategies was etched on the wall in brushed silver. What started as a consulting role turned into a full-fledged firm, funded by the competitor who believed in me, empowered by a team of underdogs I handpicked from companies just like Theon that cast me out. I'd moved into amateur loft, upgraded my car, and began mentoring women who had experienced wordwork sabotage like mine. And as fourth old company, Victor was out the board, forced his resignation once the acquisition finalized. Laya's name had vanished from their website. Without a trace, still the calls came, my mother's voice and voicemails. Laya's depressed. She hasn't left her room. My dad's bitter messages. So you're really turning your back on family we raised you? They didn't understand I hadn't turned my back. I had simply closed the door they slammed on years ago. But poetic justice has its way of circling back louder than any voicemail. 2 weeks before the firm's formal launch party, I received a formal invite request from my former boss, Victor. He wanted to meet. I agreed under own condition that he meet me at my office. No handlers, no team, just the two of us. He showed up in a cheap suit, far from the power posture he once had. I underestimated you, he said flatly. No. I replied, I lost everything. Headed, I tilted my head. No, Victor, you gambled everything. And lost because you backed the wrong Carrington. He tried to offer a handshake before leaving. I didn't take it. Instead, I turned to the window, watching the city glow beneath meth. Night of the launch party, my team gathered on the rooftop to raise. Reporters snapped photos, clients mingled, and I gave a speech I never thought I'd live to say to everyone who told me I was too emotional, too dramatic, too much. Thank you, I said, raising a glass. You helped me build the one thing you never saw coming, power without permission. The crowd erupted in applause. But the finale scene that was reserved for my parents. A month later, I received word from my legal assistant my parents had filed for bankruptcy, apparently after losing Yalla's salary and facing the threat of legal fees. They defaulted on several payments. Their house, once the kingdom from which they judged me, was up for public auction. I bought it anonymously through a silent bidder, and I didn't renovate it. I turned it into a transitional housing program for young women estranged from toxic families. It was renamed the Phoenix House. The local paper ran a story, Estranged Daughter Turns Childhood Trauma into Community Triumph. They asked if I wanted to include a quote. I did. Some daughters airborne to obey, others are born to rebuild. Later that week, I received a letter with no return address. It was from my mother, her handwriting shaky. We thought we were protecting your sister's future. We didn't know we were destroying yours. I didn't expect forgiveness, but I hope one day you'll remember the good times. It folded the letter once, then twice, and placed it in the drawer labeled Lessons Beckhouse. This wasn't about revenge anymore, it was about evolution. And while they had tried to break me with gossip, lies, and betrayal, they accidentally built the woman who no longer needed their approval, not to survive and definitely not to thrive. The story didn't end with a slammed door or all whisper behind my back. It ended with my name on the skyline. And there's no her in sight. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this.